Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and in this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place in the world during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the Ukrainian conflict, where the Russians during the previous 24 hours carried out the biggest attack since the beginning of the special military operation. According to media, there were 3 waves of attacks carried out by Russians. During the first wave, overnight between the 22nd and the 23rd of March of 2026, the Russians used hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles. And according to media and according to different sources, the Ukrainians managed to bring down almost every single missile and drone that was launched by the Russians. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine stated that overnight between the 22nd and the 23rd of March, the Russians used 426 drones and missiles altogether. And the Ukrainians, yes, they thought somewhere at 9 p.m. that that overnight attack ended and that's it. But the Russians, right after the end of the overnight attack, began the second wave of attack, and during the second wave of attack the Russians were using only drones, and according to different sources the Russians used more than 500 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine. As for the second wave of attack, during the previous 24 hours, during the previous day, we received lots of videos of how the Russians were attacking and damaging different objects of critical infrastructure through the entire territory of Ukraine, especially in the western parts of Ukraine. Later, the Minister of Defense of Ukraine published another article where we can see that during the previous day, during the 23rd of March of 2026, the Russians used additional 556 drones between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. of the 23rd of March of 2026. And when this wave of attack ended, the Russians launched the third wave of attack. The pro-Ukrainian sources haven't published any picture where we can see roads. They just provided us the numbers that overnight between the 24th and the 25th of March, the Russians launched additional 147 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine. So if we summarize everything altogether, the Russians used around 1,100 drones between the late 22nd of March of 2026 and early morning of the 25th of March of 2026, and this is the biggest number probably since the beginning of the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. And of course we received lots of videos, especially from the western parts of Ukraine. Let's discuss these videos once again. For example, in this video, almost in the most western parts of Ukraine, we can see a fire, the consequences of Iran drone attack. The sources are saying that the Russians destroyed a substation, and here we can see that indeed this is something like a substation in the most western parts of Ukraine. This is the video from the city of Lvov, and here we can see the consequences of attack. As you can see, a building was significantly damaged with a drone. So we had this video yesterday. This is the moment when the Russians attacked this building with a drone, and as you can see, the Russians attacked this building during the daylight, not overnight. Few more videos we received from the area to the east. This is the settlement of Zboriv, and here we can see a huge fire smoke over the city of Zboriv, and the sources are saying that during this attack the Russians damaged this substation in the southern parts of the settlement. Furthermore, during the previous 24 hours the Russians attacked the settlement of Ivano-Frankovsk. Here we can see explosion, very heavy explosion. The sources are saying that the Russians attacked the SBU office. This is the Special Forces Office of Ukraine. Here we can see a few more explosions that took place on the territory of the city of Vinnytsia. Here we can see the same story. The Russians attacked the SBU office of Ukraine on the territory of this settlement. Today we received few more videos, and one of them was published from the area of the city of Zhytomyr, and here we can see how the Russians, according to media, according to the local sources, were also attacking the SBU office of Ukraine. So as you can see, during the second wave of attack, the Russians were tasked to damage and to destroy as many as possible SBU offices of Ukraine, mainly through the western parts of Ukraine. And the Russians had a reason for this. I would like to remind you that several days ago, the director of the head of FSB of the Russian Federation stated that the British are coordinating Ukrainian special services (SBU), influencing their actions and providing target designations. That was stated by him, and also he emphasized that in coming days we will shake the special forces of Ukraine. So he was talking that the Russians were going to shake the SBU forces of Ukraine, and it seems that yesterday this shake process took place. During this third wave of attack, with the Russians, according to information we have, were attacking different objects through the entire territory of Ukraine, but as of the morning of the 25th of March, we haven't received almost anything that can give us some visual confirmation what exactly the Russians were attacking. And during these waves of attacks, the president of Ukraine stated that there is no real progress in the negotiation. Russia doesn't want to move toward peace. That was stated by Zelensky yesterday. Another important thing is that during the third wave of attack, the Ukrainians launched their own wave of attack deep inside of the territory of the Russian Federation, and this picture was published yesterday in the evening by pro-Ukrainian sources. And here we can see that according to this picture and according to information that we can find in the open source, the Ukrainians used 250 drones and 5 jet-powered drones and several missiles. As you can see, most of these missiles and drones were flying in the direction of the capital of the Russian Federation, of the city of Moscow, and in the northern direction towards the Leningradsky region. I would like to remind you that several days ago, the Ukrainians attacked the Leningrad region, the area around the city of St. Petersburg, and we discussed this attack 2 days ago that took place on the 23rd of March of 2026. Lots of videos were published. The Ukrainians, as a result of attack, managed to destroy or to deal significant damage to oil refinery and oil facility in this area. There were lots of satellite pictures, different videos confirming the damage that the Ukrainians managed to deal. And the 2 days after, so during overnight between the 24th and the 25th of March of 2026, the Ukrainians attacked in this direction once again. And this morning we received reports that at least 2 objects of critical infrastructure of the Russian Federation were damaged. The first object of critical infrastructure is located in the area of Ust-Luga. So this is the territory that was attacked, and according to information we have, the Ukrainians attacked the Ust-Luga commercial seaport and probably oil terminal. So probably this territory was damaged by the Ukrainians during the night between the 24th and the 25th of March. Another area that was attacked by the Ukrainians is the city of Vyborg and its port infrastructure. The sources are saying that several ships were damaged by the Ukrainians as a result of those attacks. As you can see, the Ukrainians managed to deal significant damage because several ships, as you can see, are not on their positions. So these are the consequences of the previous night's attack, and once again it's clear that neither the Russians or the Ukrainians are approaching or making steps towards the peaceful resolution of the conflict on the territory of Ukraine. And based on these statements, based on these attacks, the US is preparing Ukraine and may withdraw from negotiation, shifting focus to Iran. The US and Russia are jointly putting pressure on Ukraine over the withdrawal of the armed forces of Ukraine from Donbas, according to Kiev-based media outlets. The US doesn't see how Ukraine and Russia can reach an agreement on territories, so it's pressuring Kiev to cede Donbas. Everything is going in a circle. Russia constantly returns to the agreements with Trump in Anchorage. During negotiations, no matter what we say, the Americans always respond, withdraw from Donbas and will build your paradise like we agreed in Alaska. But as we know, Zelensky doesn't accept these demands. He see only the way of development of the situation, probably the peace agreements in completely Ukrainian favor. Furthermore, we received the report that a statement statement from the president of the United States of America, Trump. I would like Putin and Zelensky to start negotiations and conclude a deal. I think they are already close. I've been saying for a long time. I ended 8 wars, and each of them was supposed to be shorter than this one. So this is the situation. Now let's talk about the situation on the ground. During the previous 12 hours, we received some small changes. And first, let's talk about the most northeastern part of the Kharkiv region. During the previous 12 hours, the map has been adjusted. This is the situation by the end of the 24th of March. This is the beginning of the 25th of March. According to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians during the previous days intensified their offensive operation in this area. The Russians were using heavy those flamethrower systems, and as a result of small attacks that were carried out by Russians, they managed to improve their positions around the settlement of Odradne. This information was provided by pro-Ukrainian mappers. Now let's move in the direction of the Kupiansk direction. During the previous night, we received small changes in this area as well. This is the end of the 24th of March. This is the beginning of the 25th of March. According to pro-Russian sources this time, the Russians managed to capture this stronghold to the south of the settlement of Pishane. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation between the cities of Konstantinovka and Dobropolye. During the previous 24 hours, during the previous night, we haven't received anything special. We just received a lot of reports that there are still very heavy clashes. The Russians are using aviation to destroy positions of the armored forces of Ukraine and to improve their own positions along the line of combat contact, but as you can see, without significant changes on the ground. As for the Slaviansk direction, during the previous 24 hours, we received changes, but this time in Ukrainian favor. This is the situation by the end of the 24th of March, and this is the beginning of the 25th of March. A few days ago, a video was published. Today was published a video that described events that took place a few days ago. According to information we have, the Ukrainians launched a counter-offensive operation in this area with the purpose to restore complete control over the foothold around MO3 road, and according to information we have, the Ukrainians currently are fighting for the settlement by the name of Minkovka. In this video, we just shown you on the screen, we could see how the Ukrainians were moving through the street and how the Ukrainians were securing this territory. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that the Ukrainians, as a result of first days of counter-offensive operation, managed to improve their positions. So let's wait and see what is going to be next. This is a very important counter-offensive operation that can ruin the Russians' plans to move further in the direction of the city of Slaviansk, or at least this counter-offensive operation can force the Russians to postpone their plans regarding the major battle for the Slaviansk-Kramatorsk agglomerations. As for the Zaporizhzhia direction, we start receiving updates that the Russians began a counter-offensive operation from their side from the settlement of Uspenovka in the northern direction. During the previous days, the Russian presence was recorded in the southern part of the settlement of Novogrigorovka. Here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians that were counter-attacking the settlement of Novogrigorovka from the south, which means that the Russians are trying to recapture this village and then to move further in the northern direction. And here we received the video how Ukrainians were attacking Russians on the territory of this stronghold, which means that the Russians are trying to recapture their lost positions in this region as well. So the Russians, as we can see, began their Zaporizhzhia counter-offensive operation. Now we need to wait for a few days before we understand whether the Russians are able to recapture the territories they lost during the Ukrainian February counter-offensive operation. Now let's discuss the situation in the Middle East. Yesterday in the evening, the President of the United States of America published a very interesting article. Israel's Channel 12 has published the US 15-point plan to end the war with Iran. The first paragraph is removal of all sanctions on Iran, and this is a very interesting statement. This is a very interesting paragraph. US assistance in advancing and developing a civilian nuclear project, electricity generation, removal of the threat of sanctions being reimposed. Iran's nuclear program is frozen under a defined framework. Enriched uranium to remain but under supervision and agreed limits. Missile program to be addressed at a later stage with limits on quantity and range. Use of nuclear programs restricted to civilian defensive purposes only. Development of existing nuclear capabilities halted. No further expansion of enrichment capabilities. No production of weapons-grade nuclear material on Iranian soil. All enriched material to be handed over to the EIA within an agreed timeline. Natanz, Isfahan and Fordo to be taken out of use, destroyed. International monitoring and verification mechanism enforced. Gradual implementation tied to compliance. Additional regional and security understandings between the parties. So this is a very interesting proposal, telling the truth, but there is one big problem. It seems that this proposal will not probably the different leaders and different states of the Persian Gulf won't like this proposal, especially Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates and Kuwait, because and Bahrain, of course, because according to this let's say proposal made by the United States of America, it seems that the United States of America are trying to increase their presence on the territory of Iran and to make Iran great again, or something like this, which obviously doesn't fit the requirements and doesn't fit interests of the Persian Gulf states, because they will be forced to share with their incomes and oil exports. And according to information we have, during the previous 24 hours, the United States of America expected to have negotiations on the territory of Pakistan in Islamabad. But we received a report that it appears that Steve Witkoff and Karchner have left Islamabad. Talks with Iran seems to be going nowhere. And it's not surprised, because we know that the previous negotiations were also taking place with these people, with Karchner and with Witkoff. But when the negotiations between the United States of America and the Iranians were in the final stage, the coalitions began their epic fury operations. So that is why there is no trust to these people from the Iranian side. And according to information we have, the Iranians prefer to start negotiation process with J.D. Vance. Iran tells the United States it does not want to resume talks with Witkoff and Karchner, prefers negotiating with Vice President J.D. Vance instead. So maybe there are some talks behind the scenes, behind the closed doors, but as of now, one thing is clear, that the Iranians are controlling the Strait of Hormuz. There are several vessels, by the way, have been arrested by the Iranians. Sometimes they attack them with missiles and drones and destroy them. Sometimes they try to arrest them, and we have the first case about this. Furthermore, according to information we have, only non-hostile ships can pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and every single vessel is forced to pay fee to the Iranians. Probably there is just one exception, the Chinese or maybe Indian tankers that can move through this area freely. Furthermore, and at the same time, the United States of America continues spreading information about the redeployment of additional forces in this region. According to information we have, the 82nd Airborne Division have been ordered to the Middle East as the Pentagon considers sending the division for potential ground operation, which may start within the next several days or probably during the upcoming Friday of the 27th of March of 2026. The prices for oil are going down from the same side, and from the other side we received the report that China warns its citizens and informs them to leave Israel as soon as possible. This is a very important statement made by the Chinese, and the Israeli government will approve a plan allowing the Israeli Defense Forces to mobilize up to 400,000 reservists through the end of May. So in coming months or 2 months, the Israeli Defense Forces will be increased for additional 400,000 soldiers. Furthermore, we continue receiving reports about very difficult situation around the city of Baghdad in Iraq. According to information we have, the United States of America and the NATO countries have left their bases around Baghdad completely, and of course the resistance of Iraq see the situation as the biggest victory for them, which encouraged them, obviously. And currently, according to media, according to information we have, the Iraqi resistance is shifting their focus towards the northern regions of Iraq, towards the city of Erbil, where the US bases are still located under the control of the United States of America. And that's it for today, for the short video. The Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.